Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly Podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast.
Okay, Danny, let's get started.
Today's Homeowner Podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot, How Doers Get More Done. This week, we'll share with you some ideas for expanding your patio area. There's several different things that you can do to really enhance that outdoor living space. Also, converting a garage to a living area, another very common project that some people do right and some people need to listen to this podcast, and we'll share a few other tips with it. Also, some tips on painting vinyl siding. Can it be done? Yes, it can. What about a simple solution, Joe?
All right, Danny, if you've got a fenced-in yard and a dog, you may notice he or she loves digging out from underneath the gate to escape. So I'm going to share a simple solution how to prevent that from happening.
Without harming the dog, of course.
Of course. Or the gate.
Okay, we've got a lot to cover here, so let's get started. Right now, we'll go right to the Today's Homeowner Hotline in Connecticut and talk to Noreen. Noreen, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you today?
We're doing great. I got a note about your idea on right outside your house there with a small landing. Might want to make it a little bigger. Why don't you tell us about it?
Okay. So I live on Long Island Sound.
Okay.
So a nice view of the water, but really harsh conditions. And I have a small sunroom with a small landing off of a glass slider. And one of the things I would like to do is extend the size of my landing to accommodate a couple of chairs and maybe a coffee table. And right now it's made out of a composite material that's, pretty worn out. And it's sitting on concrete pavers. So I want to know, the best way to proceed, making it bigger, and the best materials to use for it.
Okay. How's the area around that landing? Is it does it drop off, or is it fairly level there?
It's pretty level.
Okay. All right. Well, I think one of the first things you'll want to do is to really look carefully, or have someone look carefully at the existing framing and see if it can be saved, because if it can be saved, then you can just add right on to it and make it as big as you want. And Joe, what do you think in terms of course, we want to use treated wood on the framing, but can't really beat that composite wood, though.
Yeah, Noreen, you said that it has composite decking on it now, and it steps down. Is this elevated a little bit?
It's 22 inches off the ground, and it's just, about maybe 6 inches off of my indoor sunroom. The landing itself.
So it steps down, right? Steps down off of the slider, then 2 steps down to the patio.
Yes.
I agree with Danny. I'd strip off all that old composite. How old is that composite decking, by the way?
10, 12 years.
Yeah, that might have been one of the first generations, and in that sun and salt spray and everything else where you are, it's not going to last as long. So anyway, I would recommend stripping it all off, inspecting the understructure framing, make sure it's sound, then just build off of that whatever size you want to enlarge it. And then I would do composite, but there's a new hybrid composite called cap stock composite.
Okay.
Trex makes one called Transcend. You can look it up on their website. And it's essentially the same core as the old composite, which is a mixture of plastic and wood fibers. But then it's wrapped in a PVC polymer shell, essentially. It's completely encased in this hard plastic. So it's much less porous than composite. It's scratch resistant, stain resistant, even comes the new capstock composites come with like a 25-year warranty against fading. Plus, it looks a lot more like real wood. So I would definitely look into that. That's what I would suggest. And you can put that on the new deck, larger deck that you're building, and then also on the steps themselves.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it sounds like a great location because you'll be elevated a little bit off the patio.
Yep.
And you see across the patio to the ocean. I think that'd be a pretty spot. And if you end up doing that and enlarging it, take a photograph and send it to us. We'd love to see the finished product.
Okay. All right. I can do that. I don't know if I can do it this fall or the spring, but
yeah, you might be looking at the spring at this point, right?
I have to get it in the works, though.
Great. All right. Thanks, Noreen.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, here's a quick email from Maryland. Carrie Ann asks, we install grab bars in my mom's tub and shower, which are useful once she gets in the tub, but she's having a little difficulty stepping in and out of the tub. Any ideas how to make showering a little safer? Thank you, and we love your show. Well, thank you for saying that, Carrie Ann. And first thing I think about there, that first big step into there, can be a significant step, and a lot of people are challenged with that. Of course, the popularity of the walk-in showers that still walk-in tubs, basically, you're certainly seeing a lot of those being installed, but they can be a little pricey. But I wonder, Joe, about just a simple little step there that maybe 12 inches by maybe 5 inches tall might help to kind of graduate up into the tub a little bit with, of course, a non-skid surface and, again, a strategically placed grab bar, if that wouldn't be the solution. That might.
The only concern there would be you're stepping from one height into a lower height, and
That's
that
right.
might be a tripping hazard. They do make a product called a tub transfer seat, which is nothing more than a small bench seat that straddles the outside edge of the tub. So you can just sit on it, kind of scoot yourself forward, put your legs up over the tub, and then stand up. That would probably be the most affordable and maybe even the safest way to go, is with a tub transfer seat.
Good. That's a great suggestion. I have seen those, and that'd be a good, graceful way of getting in and out of the tub. Right now, Jeff from Mississippi joins us with a very common scenario. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Danny.
Tell us about this garage. And so it's been converted previously into a family room. What are you looking at doing to it now?
We're thinking about changing the room around, and we want to bring the level up to the rest of the house, which is on a slab.
Okay.
So we want to make it all one level. Didn't know whether I needed to have to pour concrete to do that, or I could use a wooden structure floor to do that.
Okay. Well, I've done both, and but one of the things I always try to do is, if you did a wood structure out there, there's a lot of potential problems with it. One right off the bat for me is it's a sure sign that's not original to the house when you're walking on that concrete, and then you walk out there and you have a wood subfloor. You'll always know it. It's just going to sound different, feel different, and I just don't feel like it really ties it to the house as well. Also, rodents can get under there. Sooner or later, they'll find their way to get underneath that little area. So I would really look at pouring a concrete slab there. Now, do you still have the garage door, or I'm sure there's a door of some kind leading into there?
Well, the room is a family room, and where the garage door is they put siding up with a window, so there's no exterior door on this particular part of the house.
Okay. Well, I've done a number of them just like that, and I'll tell you what we did. Basically, we just removed the what we did is remove the baseboard all the way around, and then I put a treated 1x4 all the way around, and the top of the 1x4 being the top of the slab. Then I put the rebar in, or I put the reinforcement wire in. Went ahead and put a vapor barrier down. You never know if they had a vapor barrier before. Then I basically just had that concrete chute come right through that window and poured the slab. And it's a little trickier when you're pouring with enclosed walls like that, because generally you'll have a screed board that you can go over the form boards, but with that one before, you can work the top of that in order to do it. And you might be surprised that even though concrete's gone up quite a bit, so has lumber. So I think that would really be the best way so that it really integrates well into the house. Other things you run into, even though it's only 4 inches, your electrical outlets, if you have some of those around the wall at a standard height, now all of a sudden they're going to be 4 inches lower than they were. That bothers some people it doesn't. And then you can put your baseboard back up, and you've got a really good, solid, level floor that people should not be able to tell that it was once a garage.
Okay, that sounds good. That answers my question.
Well, good.
Jeff, I had a quick question just to follow up.
Sure.
What are you planning on putting on the floor, the finished floor in that room?
We're looking at doing the vinyl plank flooring.
Okay, that would because that might depend. That might influence what you do for the floor in there. But that would be a great substrate for the vinyl floor. So yeah, I agree with Danny. I think concrete would be the way to go.
Good deal. That's what I needed to know.
All right, Jeff, thanks so much for being with us, and appreciate you watching our show, and we'll talk again sometime.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's go back and get another email here from Tim in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm putting in a new mailbox, and I had a few questions about setting the post. First, how deep should I dig the hole, and how far back from the road should the mailbox be? Also, I heard you guys once talk about how you really don't have to mix the concrete before pouring it in the hole. How does that work exactly? Thank you for your help. Good questions there, Tim. And I tell you, that's such a great project. When I drive down the road, I see people's mailbox leaning and
Right,
rotten. Yeah. And I saw one the other day. Well, actually, one near where I live, and it's been laying on the ground for 6 weeks. And I'm thinking, what does the mailman do? Does the mailman actually get out of his mail truck and open the thing on the ground, or does he just throw it out the window? I don't know.
I bet he does not stop at all, because I don't think they're supposed to step out of the truck.
Right, I would assume so. Anyway, Tim, one of the things on the question there, first of all, you need to check with the mail service on their regulations and suggestions on how high that you should put your mailbox and how far back it should be. But as a general rule, if you're talking about a post that's about 3 foot like that, 18 inches in the ground is plenty. And when we talked about the concrete that we are using, we're talking about the red bag from Quikrete. And what this does, and they've done a lot of research on this, I was very skeptical, but I'm a believer now that you actually can pour the dry concrete around the hole and then put the right amount of water on it, and it'll be just as strong as if you mixed it in the wheelbarrow and putting it there. So that makes it a lot easier. Basically makes it where you don't even need a wheelbarrow to do a lot of these things. And but Joe, I do notice when I put my new mailbox in my new house,
right,
the regulations on they have some strict things there on how high they really want that mailbox to be.
Yeah, when I set ours, I remember I went on the United States Postal Service website, and they did say it should be, the bottom of the mailbox should be between 41 and 45 inches off the ground, and the mailbox door should be only 6 to 8 inches from the edge of the road. And that's so they can easily reach in. Now, I've seen around here, some people set them back a little further so the snow plows don't knock over the mailboxes, which happen every winter. But if you set them off the road further, that means the mail truck has to drive onto your property and sometimes erode the soil and the grass around the mailbox.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. Make sure you follow the rules on that. Time for our Best New Product segment, brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Sometimes tools designed for the pros turn out to be just as good of a solution for homeowners. And here's a great example. The Werner LeanSafe X3 6-foot fiberglass ladder is a professional 3-in-1 multi-purpose ladder that seamlessly changes from a step ladder to a straight ladder in just one adjustment. You know it's for pros because it's rated at 375 pounds, and it's uniquely designed to securely lean against flat wall surfaces, wall corners, poles, and in between wall studs, while also working as a standard step ladder. Now, for homeowners, a 6-foot step ladder is a pretty common tool, so if you also need a straight ladder, you don't have to buy 2 ladders, just this one that does both jobs. Now, they have a one-handle latch is all it takes to convert the ladder, and the all-in-one top secures tools and accessories that you may be using, and the non-marring rubber foot pads maximize the surface area in both the step ladder and the leaning ladder modes. That makes it certainly very safe to use on just about any project. So for more information on this particular Werner ladder, head over to HomeDepot.com. We're going to head all the way up to South Dakota, and Richard's on the line. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. Tell us about some of the ideas you have concerning vinyl siding.
Well, we were took our siding on our house, and it was looking pretty rough, and we started with the old style, and it needed to be recovered and painted, and we thought, we'll go with the vinyl siding. Well, the contractor grabbed me. We quick picked out a color, and I'm not too fresh with this color. Don't like it very well. So I was wondering whether or not we could paint it.
Okay. Well, you certainly can. You can paint just about everything, but boy, you certainly have to prep things just right. And probably the most important thing is to buy the type of paint that's formulated for that. Joe, we've heard a lot of people talk about aluminum siding, but now people, vinyl siding's been around long enough that people are wanting to see if they can't change the color of their house with vinyl siding.
Yeah, a lot of times, Richard, people want to change vinyl siding because it's either faded or they're just sick of the color. You just have to be careful not to go to too dark a color. That's the reason vinyl siding doesn't come in dark colors, because it absorbs too much heat and expands so much and cause buckling and other problems. But now, did you say this is brand new vinyl siding that you're about to put up, or it's already on the house?
It's already on the house.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And it's new vinyl siding. It was a light baby blue, and we would like to go with the darker, so apparently we'll have to stay with our baby blue.
Yeah, well, you can go a little darker, but what you could do is look at a palette of vinyl siding colors from any manufacturer and see which color they have, which is the darkest, and try to stay no darker than that. But in any case, you can paint it, and even if it's relatively new, the most important step is prep, just like any other surface. You can buy a commercial house cleaner. Simple Green makes one called Cleaner Degreaser. There's a company called Joe Max that makes one simply called House Cleaner. And you could scrub it. I would be a little concerned about power washing, only because you have to make sure you work your way from the top down so you're not shooting water underneath. But usually you're better off scrubbing it with a long handled brush, and that'd work just as well.
Okay.
And then the question becomes, okay, do I have to prime it or not? And that's a little bit of a controversy. Some professional painters say you should, but Sherwin-Williams, who has spent a lot of research on this, says that as long as the siding has weathered for at least a year, which yours has, then you just have to clean it. You don't have to prime it. And you have to use the best house paint you can get, which we always recommend 100% acrylic latex house paint.
Okay.
And the way it's typically applied is with a brush and a roller. So you want to roll it on with like a 1/2-inch nap roller and then back brush it. Back brushing just means you roll it on, then you come back with a brush. You just very light. You're not trying to remove the paint, of course. You're just trying to smooth it out a little bit and work it into the surface. And that's about the best you can do. And of course, you just follow the same directions on the paint can as if you were painting anything else.
If you would spray paint it, then you also use a brush, or you don't recommend using a sprayer?
If you'd spray it, you don't have to. No, I don't think you'd need to back brush. That would sort of defeat the purpose of spraying on a nice even coat of paint. So yeah, you could definitely spray it. Okay.
Yeah, you see, originally with that house, it had oil-based paint on it. And then we went with the latex, which, that's a no-no.
Right.
And that's why it started peeling and looking, and it didn't need new siding anyway.
Oh, okay.
So we put on the vinyl. Since it's an older home built in the 1915 in our small town, we want to make it look good.
Sure, absolutely.
It's got all the updated, and I've been using a lot of the things I've learned from your show and updating this house. It had all the electric thing. We didn't,
great.
No point in tearing it down. It had all the electric circuit breakers, newer furnace, newer water heater. So we see no sense in tearing it down. So we fixed it up. And
good for you.
Some of the good things that I've learned by listening to your radio program here on, we listen to it on WNX 570, the radio, our big friend up here.
Oh, that's great, Richard.
So we catch your show, and thousands as the radio announcer goes, that people are listening to your program. So thank you very much for all you've done for us.
Oh, I appreciate it, and we're always going to be here if we can help you on anything to do with your house and you or your neighbors and that kind of thing. We really, really appreciate it, and if we can help you again, just let us know.
Thank you, Danny and Joe.
Okay, all right, you take care. Lakeland, Florida, Marta asked, we bought a brand new front-loading washing machine, and about 4 months ago, it developed a strong, moldy odor. I've scrubbed the tub with bleach, but that only helps for just a short while. Any ideas how to get rid of that smell? Well, Marta,
that's a common problem people discovered with those front loaders.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, there are so many situations out there, and I would encourage you to go to todayshomeowner.com and put in front-loading washing machine in our search engine there. Boy, will you have plenty to read after that. I don't know how many. I think the comments were up over 400 comments on the article that we did, because we identified these things. We hear from people about certain problems, ongoing problems, and then we try to find out as much as we can on how to solve that problem. But it's crazy, Joe, because I have one of these, and one of the recommendations that we have is to leave the door cracked. Now, isn't that terrible that you have to, brand new now, state of the art, front loading washing machine, and you got to leave the darn door cracked so that the mold and mildew doesn't build up in it. But what are some other suggestions that you have?
Yeah, that's an obvious case of there's a problem, we're not sure what to do about it, so just leave the door open. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is if you leave the door open, you don't know who's crawling in and out. It could be dangerous to children, pets, and bugs and everything else get in there. So some manufacturers have actually started installing a piece of hardware. It's called a door plunge latch, which I'm not sure how they came up with that term, but it basically locks the door open about an inch or two, just so it can air out, but some animal or a child can't sneak into it. Mm-hmm. But we'd have to do, and it's for that exact reason. It stays wet, and mold and mildew can grow in that environment because the door is usually closed. So what you have to do is open the door and clean that door gasket as well as you can. And unfortunately, you have to do it on a pretty regular basis. Just use hot soapy water diluted with some white vinegar, or you can use a mold or mildew cleanser. You can buy it at the hardware store or home center. And then what you want to do is every now and then run a cleaning cycle with no clothes or anything. Just run an empty wash cycle with the hottest water setting. Throw in a cup of bleach with that. Or they do make, because of this problem, they do make a product. The company's called Affresh. So it's AFFRESH. And it's a special cleaner for washing machines. So you just use that. And actually they make a product, the same product for cleaning dishwashers and garbage disposals, because they have a similar problem. But other than that, if you can't get rid of it, any of those techniques, then you have to call in a professional, and he may have to remove the wash tub to make sure there's not mold growing behind it.
Well, I'll tell you something else that is well worth thinking about on any laundry room. If you have a laundry room, put a lock on that door to keep the kids out. It may be a little bit of a hassle, but so important to be able to keep the kids from any of the chemicals, and especially if you have a front-loading washing machine. We heard a story recently where two kids, and one of them got in the washing machine, and the homeowner got to the washing machine just in time. So,
good thing.
Yeah, so you want to be real careful with that. But again, go to todayshomeowner.com and put in front-loading washing machine in our search engine, and you get a lot of additional information there. We're so happy to be with you each and every week, and one of our favorite times of the show is every hour we share with you a simple solution. Joe, what do we have to prevent dogs from getting out of the fence? Because these dogs talk, and they're all in collaboration right. And everything. So what can you do to disrupt their plan?
Well, dogs are notorious for digging escape routes underneath gates, and the reason they choose the gate more likely than fence, well, there are two reasons. First, the fence is usually a little lower to the ground than the gate, but also they're coming and going through the gate quite often, so they know that's a way to get in and off the property. Mm-hmm. But here's a way to prevent that. Open up the gates and dig a shallow trench across the gate opening from post to post, and then set into that trench, and you can let it stick up a little bit, enough that you can walk across it without tripping, or drive your mower across it, something like that. You set in a pressure-treated 4x4 or 4x6, something like that, and what you're creating is a wood timber threshold across that gate. Then just backfill it and plant grass seed if you need to, and then secure this threshold by just one or two screws at an angle through the ends into the post on either side, and that's all you need to do. And now when you close the gate, if the dog decides to dig underneath it, he's going to hit that timber, and that'll stop him from digging. So it's as simple as that.
I have seen someone do that before, taking your advice on it, and they said it worked immediately.
Yes.
That the dog, that they looked out the window and the dog looked over because the ground was disturbed, and he immediately started digging, and the homeowner said, the dog looked so confused. He just couldn't figure it out. He just kept looking at the ground.
What happened?
I'll tell you what's really amusing is, occasionally on your Facebook feed or whatever, these videos will pop up about dogs escaping their cages or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
And some of these things are amazing. These dogs climbing up fencing, reaching over, opening
Yes.
the gate, and then closing it back as he's
Yeah.
leaving. You know, you go, wow, these dogs are really, really smart when they're wanting to get out and roam around a little bit. They're pretty clever.
I saw one that was very funny. It was a kennel with maybe 5 or 6 dogs, and it was about 8 feet high with a roof on it, a corrugated metal roof. And one dog climbed up vertically, the inside, pushed the corrugated roof up and climbed out. But the funny part is all 3 or 4 other dogs were just sitting there watching him like, where is Bob going? And he jumped down and ran off. And that was the last we saw.
And wouldn't let the others out. They said,
No,
see
they're
ya.
on their own. It's like
yeah.
a prison escape. You're on your own at that point.
Yeah, there are some amazing videos out there. But also when you see videos like that, a lot of times you go, well, why are they
Videotaping it.
Yeah, that you can understand why someone, the dog's been getting out, I'm going to find out how. So they put a camera out there and do that. But there's a lot of videos out there that you go, okay, wait a minute.
Right.
That's a setup for sure. Like, why would they be taping at that precise moment? So
Right.
some of it's a little fake out there, but still strangely entertaining from time to time. Now it's time for our podcast question of the week. This comes in from Mike that asks, how do you repair delamination on plastic? Wood casing on a front door. We're really not sure what's happening here. Any suggestions? We would really appreciate it. Mike also added a few pictures here, Joe. It looks like, of course, the plastic laminate that for so many years they put on the front of cabinet doors. I've seen it on
Right. Yep.
regular doors and so forth. Boy, does that ever date anything that you have. And it can be painted, but boy, when it starts turning loose like that, it's hard to get it back where it was before, even using the best glue we could recommend.
Yeah, that was called, when it was on cabinet doors, that vinyl coating was called thermofoil because it was heat treated, molded onto the door, and any thin material is called a foil, even if it's plastic in this case. But thanks to Mike for sending these photographs, because it clearly shows the bottom end of a side jamb on an exterior door. And it's just the plastic, the vinyl coating has completely come off of the wood substrate. And I suspect because it's down at the bottom part, it's been absorbing water and moisture, rain, snow, ice melting, all that. And once that moisture gets into the wood substrate, which might probably, in fact, it's like some kind of particle board or something like that, fiberboard, it swells up. And it never goes back when it dries out, if it ever dries out. So I think that's where he sees that delamination. And he could try just cutting it up, cutting that section out, maybe, depending how much snow he gets, but up above the snow line, or if it's just rain, cut it up at least 10 or 12 inches, and then put in either press-treated wood, paint it to match, or I would suggest, like an AZEK product, which is a cellular PVC. Home Depot's house brand is called Veranda, and again, it's just plastic lumber, for lack of a better word. And then you don't have any worry about it ever rotting, delaminating, or anything else.
Great answer, great suggestion. Hope that helps you out there, Mike. And we appreciate getting those questions. And again, that's todayshomeowner.com/podcast for any comments or questions that you may have for us here at Today's Homeowner. Also, I always like to say thank you again for all of those wonderful reviews we're getting from everybody across the country, really across the world, that are listening to the Today's Homeowner podcast. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you again next week. I'm Danny Lipford, along with my buddy Joe Truini. Thank you so much for listening to this Today's Homeowner podcast.